We have details of these and some other stories coming your way if you stay with us. Do remember this news is live on DSTV, channel 279. We are also streaming across the world on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. Do join us with your thoughts and comments. The details now. The Education Ministry has challenged school heads assertion that textbooks are in short supply in schools. Deputy Education Minister Reverend John Ntimforjo, speaking on the sidelines of a technology fair at the Pentecost University, dared the teachers to list schools without approved textbooks.
Position to banter with either the ministry or the GES. The fact is that a new curriculum was introduced in 2019 at the KG and the primary level, and about 158,000 thereabout teachers were given 1 week training to enable them use the new curriculum that has been introduced. And after the 1 week training, the message attached to the training was that they should do away with the old curriculum together with the old textbooks, because there were going to be a new curriculum with 8 new textbooks. And since 2019 till date, the textbooks that are in the school are only the core subjects. We have 5 textbooks in the schools out of the 8 subjects. And 3 days ago, NACA went round some schools in Greater Accra, and the director of NACA came out that he saw some teachers using unapproved textbooks. So if the ministry together with GES has produced all or supplied all the 8, why is NACA then claiming that they saw some teachers using unapproved textbooks? Last 2 years, the minister came out to tell the public that he has given the publishers 120 days to finish the publication of all the textbooks. Yesterday, the president of the Publishers Association said that the contract they signed with the ministry, they were to produce 48% of the textbooks, which represent the core textbook. And for over 2 years now, the publishers are yet to receive their money. You can equally go to the ground and check for yourself whether the schools have 8 textbooks for the 8 subject, or they have some and some are yet to be given to them. You see, the teachers need to be praised because those at the primary, the main book that was given to them was a resource pack, and the teachers are now using their own devices, their own data to.
Still on the textbook debate, the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, Reverend Isaac Owusu, has disagreed with the deputy minister's claim, insisting it is not supported by the reality on the ground. He noted that only 5 of the 8 certified textbooks were printed and offered nationwide, but not accessible in all schools.
Have textbooks, and I'll prove to you. I will prove to you. All that we do on the distribution of textbooks was done transparently. I remember that I took all media houses, most of you here represented. We went all the print houses in this country with your cameras. You saw the books being printed. You captured it. We took you to the warehouses where the printed books had been packed. You captured it. You even captured tracks loading those textbooks. What I expect you to do is follow up to the schools. As the buses and the tracks are delivering those books, follow up to the schools. Because definitely those books that you yourself videoed will not vanish in thin air on their way. They went to classrooms. So we would want you to collaborate with us. Let's visit classrooms. If there are some classrooms that are still without textbooks, upon the millions copies we printed and we showcased and transported, arrangements will be made for such a school.
West African military chiefs are preparing to use force to restore constitutional rule in Niger if diplomacy fails following last month's coup. I was at the opening of their meeting at Bema Camp in Accra, where the chiefs of defense staff reiterated their commitment to undertake the operation.
Out of the 15 ECOWAS sub-regional member countries, 4 have experienced coups leading to their suspension from the regional bloc, with 11 remaining. During the meeting to plan military operations in Niger, defense staff chiefs reiterated their commitment to halting the increasing coups in West Africa.
The planning is over virtually. Right now, this meeting is talking about pledges when potentially we will start marching. We'll prefer the peaceful means. There is a steely resolve among the ECOWAS heads of state to use all possible means to restore constitutional order in Niger.
The charge by the authority of heads of states and government to activate the standby force is therefore in order, and it is in furtherance of our ongoing discussions.
I would like to remind us all that the purpose of our gathering is not simply to react to events, but to proactively chart a course that preserves peace, promotes stability, and upholds democratic principles across our region. We must remember that our collective actions today will shape the legacy we leave for future generations. The path that lies before us is not an easy one, but is a path that we must tread nonetheless, with courage and determination.
Niger has experienced 7 jihadist attacks since the coup in July, with the latest one on Wednesday killing 17 soldiers.
If presidential guards in Guinea and Niger take hostage their president, nobody in West Africa is safe. That is why I urge you to continue to be loyal to your heads of states.
The second day of the meeting will spell out details of deployment and logistic plans.
A senior mediator at the UN's Department of Political Affairs and a former Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs says the military government's failure to accept mediation teams from the AU, UN and ECOWAS is not sufficient justification for military intervention in Niger.
So diplomacy does not work because you try and then the party that you are engaging with refuses to meet you, and so it ends. Diplomacy is a political engagement that is persistent and that perseveres on a day-to-day basis. And so the first attempt for ECOWAS and the AU that did not work does not necessarily mean that diplomacy does not work. So they have to go back for it. But then they have to re-strategize. They have to enlarge the engagement. So we need to bring in more actors. We need to bring in the North African countries. We need to bring in some bilateral and multilateral institutions that are key players in our region. We have to break down the understanding of interdependence and why we need one another. We have to bring the level of conflict analysis in terms of how the emerging future looks grim and put that before the military leaders for them to be able to see the contribution they are making, not just to peace in Niger, but to peace in the entire Sahel region and the entire belt of the Sahel from West Africa into the Horn of Africa.
Contrary to ECOWAS's assertion that it is prepared to use its standby force to intervene in Niger, a security expert, Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, says the security officials have merely obtained a commitment from member nations for the operation. According to him, it will take at least a few months to integrate the logistical and resource mobilization needed for such an operation.
Say that the plan is not ready. So when your campaign plan is not ready, you cannot launch the campaign. Tomorrow, by the close of work, if they have finalized the plan, that is also not the last stage. They need to brief the plan to the ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council, which happens to be the authority because the two are conflated. And at that briefing, these chiefs will lay bare what they think the risks are, what the obstacles are, and the mitigating factors. They will give a sense of the budget. And then there is need for time to find the troops. Let's assume Ghana says, I'll give you a battalion. Now, Ghana needs time to compose or constitute that battalion. Because you don't uproot a battalion. There's something we call the rare detail. So even if you want 2nd Battalion, Aprem to ready to go, It is not all the rank and file that are going to go. You need to leave behind. So you're going to take other troops from some of the existing units. Then you go to the phase where you call marrying up. Going to take these troops, and then you add artillery, you add this, you add that, and they don't get to know themselves. And the commander doesn't get to know the officers and men and women who are going to work under him and psyche them up and so on and so forth. It may not work very well. Then ECOWAS also has to go and find the money. Now, I have reservations about ECOWAS saying that they have the money. Because in this kind of campaign, you cannot say that you are going there for 7 days and you're coming back.
Away from security-related issues in Niger, the Doma Hene Osiajifo Osiadeyo Ajiman Bedu II has criticized the construction of the new Bank of Ghana head office, describing the project as a misplaced priority. He urged that the funds could have been diverted to other critical areas.
Domahene Osajifo Osiadeyo Ajiman Bedu II says it is not prudent for the Bank of Ghana to undertake the project.
Bank of Ghana $250 million.
Bank of Ghana says it is using $250 million to build a new head office. What is this? Because they are autonomous, they just choose to do anything they like. How can Bank of Ghana alone decide to undertake such a project?
He wants the president to intervene in the matter.
Bank of Ghana independent.
We are appealing to the president to meet Bank of Ghana authorities as a matter of priority and undertake an investigation into the funding of the project.
Already, the minority in parliament has given the Bank of Ghana 7 days to provide information on the cost of the new building.
Away from that, the final group of victims in the multiple defilement case who are prepared to testify against the alleged pedophile have finished their in-camera interviews with shocking revelations about Ahmed Rashid, aka Anata's alleged behavior. The accused occasionally lures his victims into the bushes and unfinished houses, according to the evidence that was given on Thursday.
The last batch of young girls that alleged that they were defiled were brought in to testify, and then they were cross-examined, and we ended that. So now we are done with all the victims in the case. The victims who are available to testify, all the 9 have spoken, and all of them have given their testimonies of how and what happened, where he did it to them, how he managed to take them home, sometimes how he sent them to the bush, sometimes to an uncompleted building. That's what they alleged. So the next line will be to call the medical doctor and then investigator, and that would have been the end of our case. So we have adjourned Tuesday because the medical doctor is not available. The medical doctor at the Wa Municipal Hospital, our information has it that he has traveled to Accra and will be coming back on Monday. So on Monday we'll check with them if he's available. On Tuesday we'll put him before the court. The investigator also traveled to his father's funeral. He'll also be back on Monday, and on Tuesday he'll also testify. But that one will be in open court. And then after that we will close our case and then listen to what he has to say and what the judge will have to say.
A private legal practitioner, Captain Nkrabea Efadate, has filed a lawsuit against the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police over the death of a 17-year-old Washing Bay attendant who was allegedly assaulted by the police before his death. The deceased relatives rejected the police's explanation for their loved one's passing and demanded justice.
I'm sorry, I have not contacted the Ghana Police Service, but I have filed a writ of summons at the High Court, and the writ is against the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police. And I'm asking the court to give an order that there should be due process in the death of Samuel Kwesi Watingaji, the 17-year-old boy working at New Abrim car washing bay, who was killed through brutal beatings by the police led by one Buama. So this is the situation. The family basically, who instructed me to issue the writ, their position is clear that the boy was killed by the excessive beatings by the policemen. And against that background, the police should be arrested, those who did that. It's as simple as that.
Let's do more stories. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Mensah, has reaffirmed the Commission's decision to use the Ghana card as the sole voter registration document. Despite Parliament's approval, the Commission has set December 19 for the district-level elections with registration of persons who have turned 18 years from September 12 to October 2 at its district offices.
Director of Prosecutions at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Dr. Isidore Tufo, prayed the courts to grant the application to confirm the freeze of accounts and assets of Cecilia Dapa after she was unable to reasonably justify how she came by some $590,000 and 2.73 million Ghana cedis found in her Abelemkpe residence. He added that the freezing of the properties will prevent the minister from hiding any properties tainted in corruption. But lead counsel for Cecilia Dapa objected to the application, citing the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 959 in Section 32(2), which mandates the office to bring the application for confirmation within 7 days after the seizure. Victoria Bath argued that the application was filed after the 7 days had elapsed. She also told the court that the fact that the said monies were found in her matrimonial home did not make it a tainted property. The presiding judge has hence fixed August 31 to rule on the Office of the Special Prosecutor's application to confirm the freeze of accounts. Lord Edwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Two more stories. Husband of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa has been released on bail without a charge after being arrested by the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the aid of investigations. Director of the Office of the Prosecution at the OSP told the court that Daniel Osei Kufuor was picked up because of alleged tainted monies that had been found in the matrimonial home of the former minister. But counsel for Cecilia Dapa noted that her client was unaware of the recent development. My colleague Lord Edwasari has more in the following report. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Mensah, has reaffirmed her decision to use the Ghana card as the sole voter registration, where we brought it earlier in our subsequent bulletins. But up next will be international news. I beg your pardon.
Involves electing assembly and unit committee members to oversee district development in the country. Elected members have a 4-year tenure, but low turnouts have often been a concern. This year's election is scheduled for December 19.
The DLE will be conducted in all 6,272 electoral areas in all districts, with the exception of Nkrasa North and Nkrasa South in the Bono East region. The DLE for the two districts was not held in 2019 for security reasons. As such, the elections would not be held in both districts until 2025. As a commission, we encourage voters to take advantage of the voters' registration exercise and register to vote. We also entreat the citizenry to participate actively.
The Commission says preparations are underway for a smooth exercise, targeting 60% turnout. The EC also announced that the voter registration exercise for persons who have turned 18 years will commence on September 12 and end on October 2.
Article 45A mandates the Electoral Commission to compile the register of voters at such periods that may be determined by law. It is in the discharge of this mandate and as part of the Commission's preparations towards the conduct of the 2023 district-level elections that the Commission will undertake a voters' registration exercise.
Let's do some international news now. A new U.S. ambassador to Niger is expected to soon take up her role in the capital, Niamey. Kathleen Fitzgibbon has been tasked with leading the U.S. mission in Niger during what State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel described as a critical time. Fitzgibbon is a diplomat with significant experience working in Africa. She was confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the Niger ambassador on 27th July, a day after the coup. The envoy is also expected to coordinate the U.S. government's efforts in addressing the coup and supporting Americans stuck in Niger. Niger has been without an American ambassador since December 2021.